I'm Ruby, and I'm 34 years old. While I was burying my 9-year-old son Tyler completely alone yesterday morning, my family was across town clinking champagne glasses at my sister Madison's engagement party. The funeral director kept glancing at the empty chairs behind me, probably wondering what kind of monster doesn't have anyone show up to their child's funeral. I maintained my composure, though my hands shook as I placed Tyler's favorite teddy bear on his tiny casket. When I got home to 17 missed calls and 0 voicemails, I knew exactly what was coming next. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt completely abandoned by the people who should love you most. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. This morning, Mom's text arrived at exactly 7 a.m. sharp. Enough drama, Ruby. We need to discuss Tyler's money. Not, how are you holding up? Or, sorry we missed the funeral. Just straight to business, because apparently grief has an expiration date of about 12 hours in the Patterson family. The money she's referring to is Tyler's trust fund, $950,000 left by his father Marcus before the accident 3 years ago. Marcus made me promise that money would only be used for Tyler's future, his education, maybe a house someday. Now Tyler's gone, and legally it all comes to me. I stared at that text for 20 minutes, sitting in Tyler's bedroom surrounded by Pokemon cards and superhero posters. The same room where I'd held him through countless sleepless nights during his final illness, where I'd read him stories and promised everything would be okay, even when the doctors told me it wouldn't be. My phone rang. Mom's contact photo appeared, her perfectly styled blonde hair and practiced smile filling the screen. I let it go to voicemail, then played it back. Ruby, darling, I know you're processing your grief, but we really do need to talk about being practical here. Madison's wedding is in 8 weeks, and with all the unexpected expenses, her voice trailed off, leaving the implication hanging like smoke. The unexpected expenses. Right. Because planning an engagement party on the same day as your grandson's funeral apparently requires a significant budget increase. I called her back because putting off conversations with Patricia Patterson only makes them worse. She answered before the first ring finished. Ruby, finally, now, about Tyler's inheritance. Madison and James need help with wedding costs, and since I'm family, I repeated slowly, the same family that was celebrating while I buried my son? A pause. Then her voice shifted to that wounded tone she's perfected over 34 years of manipulating her daughters. That's not fair, honey. You know we would have been there if you'd told us the time correctly. I had told them. Multiple times. Sent them the funeral program. Left voicemails with the details. But challenging Mom's version of reality never ends well. How much? I asked, cutting through her rehearsed explanation about miscommunication and unfortunate timing. Well, the venue costs have increased significantly since they booked. How much, Mom? Just a small loan, really. Maybe $400,000 to cover the venue, flowers, catering. $400,000. Nearly half of Tyler's trust fund. The money meant to honor a dead child's memory. Redirected to celebrate my sister's perfect life. The silence stretched between us until Mom's voice turned sharp. Ruby, you're being selfish. Madison's happiness matters too. That's when I realized something had shifted inside me. Maybe it was the image of Tyler's empty hospital bed. Maybe it was standing alone at his graveside. But for the first time in my life, I didn't automatically start apologizing or looking for ways to make everyone else comfortable. I'll think about it, I said, and hung up. But I already knew my answer. And tomorrow's family meeting was going to be very interesting. The Patterson family home looks exactly the same as it did when Madison and I were kids. Same pristine white columns, same meticulously maintained garden, same intimidating front door that made me feel small even as an adult. I parked behind Dad's Mercedes and Madison's brand new BMW, gifts from our parents for her successful career in social media. Because apparently having 50,000 Instagram followers qualifies as a profession now, while my actual job as a pediatric nurse just gets polite nods. Inside, they're arranged like a tribunal. Dad in his leather chair, Mom perched on the sofa's edge, Madison sprawling dramatically across the loveseat in a designer dress that probably costs more than I make in a month. Her fiancé James sits beside her, looking uncomfortable. Ruby! Mom's voice is artificially bright. We're so glad you came. James made coffee. I remain standing. Power Dynamic 101. Something Tyler taught me from watching courtroom shows. Height advantage matters. We've been thinking about your situation. Dad begins, folding his hands in his lap. This money Tyler left, it's a significant responsibility. My situation, like losing my son, is a minor inconvenience I need help managing. Having that much cash just sitting around, Madison chimes in, it's not practical. You could lose it to taxes or bad investments. I study my sister's face, looking for any trace of the girl who used to build blanket forts with me. Nothing. Just calculated concern masquerading as family loyalty. That's why we think contributing to Madison's wedding makes perfect sense. Mom continues smoothly. It's an investment in family unity. Tyler would have wanted his cousin to be happy. Tyler would have wanted a lot of things, like growing up, like seeing his 10th birthday, like having his family attend his funeral. Tyler barely knew Madison, I say quietly. She visited him exactly once during his entire illness. Madison's expression hardens. I don't do well with hospitals. They're depressing. He was dying, Madison. Depression was kind of unavoidable. An uncomfortable silence settles over the room. James shifts in his seat, clearly wishing he was anywhere else. Dad clears his throat. The point is, Ruby, this money could help secure Madison's future, build something positive from tragedy. And what about Tyler's future? The words come out sharper than I intended. The college fund Marcus set up? The dreams we talked about? Honey, Mom's voice goes soft and patronizing. Tyler's gone. Those dreams died with him. The casual brutality of her words hits like a physical blow. But instead of crumbling, something inside me hardens. You're right, I say, moving toward the door. Tyler is gone, which means this conversation is over. Ruby, wait. Dad's voice carries that edge of authority that used to terrify me as a child. Don't walk away from family. I turn back, studying these people who share my DNA but nothing else. Family doesn't abandon each other during the hardest moments. Family doesn't turn a child's death into a business opportunity. Madison stands, her face flushed with anger. You're being ridiculous. It's just money, Ruby. Tyler doesn't need it anymore. No, I agree, but his memory does. I walk out, leaving them in their perfect living room with their perfect plans. In my car, I sit for a moment, hands trembling on the steering wheel. For 34 years, I've been the accommodating daughter, the supportive sister, the family member who bends rather than breaks. But watching them reduce Tyler's legacy to a wedding expense has shown me exactly who they really are. And now I know exactly what I need to do. 3 days later, I'm sitting in attorney Mitchell Reynolds' office, surrounded by leather-bound books and the smell of old money. Mitchell handled Marcus's estate planning and Tyler's trust documentation. He's probably 60, with kind eyes and the sort of steady presence that makes you trust him immediately. I understand your family has made some requests regarding Tyler's inheritance, he says, reviewing the trust documents spread across his mahogany desk. They want nearly half of it for Madison's wedding. Mitchell's expression doesn't change, but I catch the slight tightening around his eyes. And how do you feel about that request? How do I feel? Like screaming, like laughing at the absurdity, like disappearing entirely. They weren't there, I say simply. For 18 months while Tyler was sick, fighting, dying, my family was busy with their own lives. Now they want to profit from his death. Mitchell nods thoughtfully. Ruby, I need to tell you something about this trust that you might not fully understand. He pulls out a sealed envelope with my name written in Marcus's familiar handwriting. Your husband left specific instructions about what should happen if Tyler passed away. He was very concerned about your family's relationship with money. My heart stops. What kind of instructions? He documented several conversations he had with your parents about Tyler's trust fund. Conversations where they suggested the money should be more accessible to the family. The room seems to tilt. They approached Marcus about Tyler's money? Multiple times. Always under the guise of helping with Tyler's care, but Marcus was suspicious of their motives. That's why he structured the trust so rigidly. Mitchell hands me the envelope. He wanted you to have this if anything happened to Tyler. Inside, Marcus's letter is dated just 2 weeks before the car accident that killed him. My dearest Ruby, if you're reading this, then our worst fears have come true, and Tyler is gone. I know your family will come for this money immediately. They've already tried while Tyler and I are both alive. Don't let them guilt you into thinking their wants matter more than Tyler's memory. This money is yours to honor our son, however you don't take that from me. I look up at Mitch. They tried to get Tyler's money while Marcus was alive? Your father contacted Marcus 6 months before the accident, suggesting Tyler's trust should be more liquid for family emergencies. When Marcus refused, your mother called to express concern about Tyler's medical expenses being a burden on the family. The pieces click into place. The sudden interest in Tyler's health updates. The frequent calls asking about medical costs. The casual questions about insurance coverage and savings accounts. They've been planning this for years, I whisper. Mitchell leans forward. Ruby, this trust gives you complete control over how Tyler's money is used. You don't owe your family anything. What if I wanted to do something that would show them exactly how little I think of their priorities? A small smile crosses Mitchell's face. What did you have in mind? I tell him about my idea, and his smile grows wider. That, he says, is exactly what Marcus would have wanted. Have you ever experienced family members who only show love when they want something from you? Drop a comment below and hit that like button if you've ever had to choose between keeping peace and protecting what matters most. The envelope arrives at my parents' house on a Tuesday morning, delivered by certified mail. I know because I'm parked across the street in my car, watching Dad sign for it through their front window. Inside that envelope is a formal notification that I've established the Tyler Marcus Patterson Memorial Scholarship Fund for children with terminal illnesses. The initial donation, $400,000. Exactly the amount they wanted for Madison's wedding. My phone starts ringing 30 seconds after Dad closes the front door. "Ruby!" Mom's voice is shrill with panic. "What have you done?" "I've honored Tyler's memory." "You've thrown away $400,000. "I've invested it in something Tyler would have cared about, helping other sick kids get the support they need." Through the window, I watch Dad pacing in their living room, his face red with anger. Madison appears, grabs the letter from his hands, and her mouth falls open as she reads. "Ruby, listen to me very carefully." Mom's voice drops to that dangerous level I remember from childhood arguments. "You call that lawyer right now and reverse this ridiculous decision." "I can't. The donation is irreversible." "Then you find another $400,000 somewhere else." The entitlement in her voice is breathtaking. "Where exactly would you like me to find that money, Mom? You have a house. You have savings. You figure it out." She wants me to mortgage my home to pay for Madison's wedding, the same home where Tyler took his first steps, where he played with his toys, where he died in my arms. "Let me make something very clear," I say, watching Madison throw the letter down and storm toward the kitchen. "I wouldn't give you 400 cents for Madison's wedding, much less $400,000. Mom's gasp is audible. "How can you be so cruel to your own sister? The same way she was cruel to Tyler, the same way you all were." I hang up and drive away, leaving them to process this new reality. But I'm not done yet, not even close. That afternoon, I visit the local newspaper office. The society editor, Janet Morrison, is a woman I've known since high school. She's also Madison's former best friend until Madison decided Janet wasn't successful enough to maintain their friendship. "Ruby Patterson," Janet smiles as I walk into her office. "I was so sorry to hear about Tyler. That little boy was an angel." "Thank you. Actually, that's why I'm here." I show her the documentation for Tyler's Memorial Scholarship Fund, including photos of Tyler from his hospital stays, and the testimonials I've already gathered from 3 families the scholarship will help. "This is beautiful," Janet says, reviewing the materials. "A real legacy. I'd love to see it featured in this week's Community Spotlight." Janet nods enthusiastically. "Absolutely. And Ruby, I have to ask, is it true that Madison's wedding is the same weekend as Tyler's memorial service?" I blink innocently. "Is it? I hadn't noticed the conflict." But of course I had. Tyler's memorial service is scheduled for Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Madison's wedding? Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. Janet's eyebrows raise. That's going to make things complicated for family attendance. People will have to choose what matters most to them, I say simply. The article runs Thursday morning, front page of the lifestyle section. Local mother honors lost son with scholarship fund. It includes a beautiful photo of Tyler smiling in his hospital bed, details about the scholarship criteria, and a touching quote from Marcus's letter about honoring Tyler's memory. Buried in the last paragraph is a casual mention of Tyler's memorial service details. By noon, my phone has 17 missed calls from family members. I ignore them all. At 2 p.m., Madison shows up at my house, crying. Real tears this time, not the practiced kind she uses for social media sympathy. "Ruby, please," she begs. People are asking questions about the timing. Some of my wedding guests are saying they might skip the ceremony to attend Tyler's memorial instead. That's their choice to make. "You did this on purpose." "I scheduled Tyler's memorial service 6 months ago, Madison, the day he died." Her face crumples. "But you didn't announce it until now." "Because my family didn't seem interested in honoring Tyler's memory. They were too busy planning celebrations." Madison sinks onto my porch steps. "What do you want from me, Ruby? What will it take to fix this?" I study my sister's face, looking for any sign of genuine remorse for abandoning Tyler during his illness, for missing his funeral, for trying to profit from his death. Nothing. Just panic about her perfect day being overshadowed. "I want you to understand that Tyler mattered more than your wedding," I say quietly. "But he's dead, Ruby. The wedding is for the living, and there it is. The fundamental difference between us laid bare." "Then I guess you've made your choice," I tell her. "Just like I've made mine." The morning of Madison's wedding arrives gray and drizzling, which feels appropriate somehow. I'm getting dressed for Tyler's memorial service when my doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see Dad standing on my porch in his expensive suit, holding an umbrella and wearing the expression that used to make me comply with anything he wanted. I open the door but don't invite him in. Ruby, we need to talk. There's nothing to discuss. His jaw tightens. Your mother is beside herself. Madison's wedding day is ruined because half the guests are asking about Tyler's memorial instead of celebrating. Then maybe they have their priorities straight. Dad steps closer, using his height to intimidate me the way he did when I was 7 and broke Mom's favorite vase. This stops now. You call off this memorial service and attend your sister's wedding like a proper family member. For 34 years, that tone has made me shrink. Today, it just makes me stand taller. No. The word hangs between us like a challenge. Dad's face darkens. I didn't raise you to be vindictive. You didn't raise me at all. You were too busy raising your perfect daughter, Madison. Madison has always been easier than you. Less dramatic, more agreeable. Madison has always been your favorite. Less honest, more willing to pretend everything's fine. Dad's eyes narrow. Fine. You want to play hardball? Tyler's scholarship fund was established with family money. Marcus's life insurance came from his job at Patterson Construction, my company. Technically, those funds belong to the family business. The threat hits like ice water. He's suggesting he could challenge the scholarship fund legally, claiming the money belongs to his company rather than Tyler's trust. But I've learned a few things about power plays from watching Tyler fight for his life. You don't back down when someone threatens what matters most. Actually, Dad, that's not how life insurance works. Marcus bought that policy with his own money, named Tyler as beneficiary through a separate trust. Your company had nothing to do with it. His confidence wavers slightly. We'll see what my lawyers say about that. Please do. I'm sure they'll love explaining to you how estate law works. I'm also sure Janet Morrison will find it very interesting that the Patterson family is trying to steal money from a children's scholarship fund. Dad's face goes pale. The Patterson name being associated with taking money from sick children would destroy his reputation in our small town. This isn't over, Ruby. Yes, it is. Because in 2 hours, I'll be honoring my son's memory with people who actually cared about him. And you'll be at a wedding party, pretending everything's perfect. He leaves without another word, and I finish getting ready for the memorial service. At 1:30 p.m., I arrive at the community center where Tyler's service is being held. My heart nearly stops when I see the parking lot. Cars everywhere. Far more than I expected. Inside, the room is packed. Tyler's teachers from school, nurses from the hospital, parents of Tyler's classmates, neighbors I barely know but who remember Tyler riding his bike in our neighborhood. Marcus's parents are in the front row, having driven 6 hours to be here. They've been more family to me in Tyler's final year than my own parents ever were. At exactly 2 p.m., I stand at the podium and look out at faces filled with genuine love for my son. Tyler would have been amazed to see all of you here, I begin. Not because he didn't think people cared about him, but because he was always surprised when anyone made a big fuss over him. Soft laughter ripples through the crowd. Behind me, a slideshow plays photos of Tyler's life, playing soccer, building Lego castles, grinning through his last birthday party despite being weak from treatments. My son taught me that family isn't defined by blood relations. It's defined by who shows up when it matters most. I don't mention that my biological family isn't here. I don't need to. Their absence speaks louder than any words I could say. The service lasts an hour. People share memories of Tyler's kindness, his curiosity, his determination. The scholarship fund receives 3 additional donations on the spot. As people begin to leave, Marcus's mother approaches me. Ruby, Tyler would be so proud of what you've done. Standing up for what's right even when it's hard. I just miss him so much, I whisper, finally allowing myself to cry. Of course you do. But look around this room. Look at all the people who loved that little boy. This is Tyler's real family. At 3:15 p.m., my phone buzzes with a text from Madison's maid of honor. Wedding delayed, Madison having breakdown, says she can't stop thinking about Tyler. I don't respond. But for the first time since Tyler died, I feel something that might eventually become peace. Madison's wedding finally happens at 5 p.m. 2 hours late. I know because Janet Morrison texts me photos from the reception, along with attendance numbers that are lower than expected. I'm at home by then, having spent the afternoon with Tyler's memorial guests who weren't ready to leave. We ordered pizza and shared more stories about Tyler's impact on their lives. Marcus's parents stayed until evening, and we looked through photo albums I hadn't been able to touch since Tyler died. My phone has been buzzing with messages all day, but I haven't looked at any of them until now. Madison, I hope you're satisfied. My wedding day is ruined. Mom, your selfishness has torn this family apart. Dad, don't expect any help from us ever again. But there are other messages, too. From Tyler's teachers, thanking me for the memorial service. From hospital staff who attended. From parents of sick children who've already applied for Tyler's scholarship. At 7 p.m., my doorbell rings again. This time it's Madison, still in her wedding dress but with makeup streaked down her cheeks. "Can I come in?" I step aside and she collapses onto my couch, careful not to wrinkle the layers of expensive silk. "Everyone kept asking about Tyler during the reception," she says without preamble. "About why we weren't at his funeral. About why the memorial service was the same day as my wedding. What did you tell them?" "The truth. That we thought your grief made you vindictive and we didn't want to enable your drama." I sit across from her, studying this woman who shares my DNA but seems like a complete stranger. "And how did that go over?" Madison's laugh is bitter. "About as well as you'd expect. James's grandmother called me selfish. My college roommate said she couldn't believe we'd missed a child's funeral for a party. Madison, Tyler was dying for 18 months. You visited him exactly once. I told you hospitals depress me. Everything depresses you unless it's about you." She flinches at the truth in those words. "That's not fair. Tyler asked about you every time I visited. Where's Aunt Madison? Why doesn't she come see me?" I ran out of excuses. For the first time in our conversation, Madison looks genuinely stricken. "I didn't know he asked about me. You didn't know because you never asked about him." We sit in silence for several minutes. Outside, it started raining harder, drumming against the windows of the house where Tyler used to press his nose to the glass, watching for rainbows. "What do you want from me, Ruby?" Madison finally asks. "An apology? Fine. I'm sorry I wasn't a better aunt to Tyler." "I don't want your apology, Madison. I want you to understand something." "What?" "This was never about punishing you for missing Tyler's funeral, though that was unforgivable. This was about showing you that Tyler's life mattered more than your wedding, that some things are more important than your convenience." Madison stands, smoothing her dress. "Well, you've made your point. The whole town knows you think I'm a terrible person. The whole town knows exactly who you are, Madison. The same person you've always been." She heads for the door, then turns back. "You know what the worst part is? I actually love Tyler. I just didn't know how to show it. Love isn't a feeling, Madison. It's a choice. It's showing up when it's hard. It's putting someone else's needs before your own comfort." "Is that why you gave away $400,000? To prove you loved him more than money?" "I gave away that money because Tyler would have wanted it to help other children, because his memory deserves better than being used to fund your wedding." Madison leaves, and I watch her navigate the rain in her wedding dress, probably ruining the expensive fabric. But for the first time since Tyler died, I feel like I've honored his memory in a way that matters. Later that night, I receive an email from Janet Morrison with photos from Tyler's memorial service. The article she's writing will run Sunday, featuring interviews with scholarship recipients and community members who attended. But there's something else in her email, a note that makes me smile for the first time in weeks. "Ruby, I thought you should know. 3 other local families have contacted me about establishing memorial funds for their lost children, inspired by Tyler's scholarship. You've started something beautiful." Maybe Madison was right about one thing. This wasn't really about punishment. It was about legacy. And Tyler's legacy is going to help more children than Madison's wedding ever could. The article about Tyler's memorial service runs on Sunday's front page with the headline, "Community Rallies Around Memorial Scholarship Fund." The photo they chose shows the packed room during the service, with Tyler's picture prominently displayed behind the podium. By Monday morning, the scholarship fund has received 12 additional donations from people who read the article but couldn't attend the service. I'm at work trying to focus on my pediatric patients when my supervisor Nancy calls me into her office. "Ruby, I've been getting some interesting phone calls this morning." My stomach tightens. "From my family?" "From the hospital administration, and the local news station, and 3 different charitable organizations who want to partner with Tyler's scholarship fund." I blink in surprise. "Really?" Nancy smiles, the kind of warm expression that makes her one of the best supervisors I've ever had. The memorial service video has been shared over 2,000 times on social media. People are calling Tyler's story inspiring. She shows me her computer screen, where a local news website has posted their own article about the scholarship fund. The comment section is flooded with supportive messages and additional donation pledges. "There's something else," Nancy continues. "Channel 7 wants to interview you for their Wednesday evening human interest segment. I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of attention. Think about it. The more people who know about Tyler's story, the more children the scholarship can help." That afternoon, I drive to Tyler's grave for the first time since the funeral. The headstone is simple, engraved with his name, dates, and the phrase Marcus and I chose together: "Forever curious, forever loved." I sit in the grass beside his grave, updating him on everything that's happened. "Mom and Dad are furious," I tell him. "Madison's probably not speaking to me for the rest of my life. But Tyler, you should see how many people came to remember you. Kids from your class, teachers, even Mrs. Henderson from down the street who always complained about your bike in her driveway." The wind rustles through the trees overhead, and I imagine it's Tyler laughing at the memory of Mrs. Henderson's annoyed face. I think I'm going to do the interview, I continue. Not for revenge or to make the family look bad, but because your story could help other families going through what we went through. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. This is James, Madison's husband. Could we talk? I call him back, curious about what Madison's new husband could possibly want to discuss. Ruby, thank you for taking my call. I wanted to apologize for my family's behavior yesterday. Your family? Madison is my family now. And what happened at the wedding, the way she talked about Tyler, it wasn't right. I'm genuinely surprised. In all the chaos of the past week, James has been almost invisible, standing quietly behind Madison's dramatics. I tried to convince Madison to postpone the wedding when I learned about Tyler's memorial service, he continues. She refused, said you were just being manipulative. Why are you telling me this? Because I lost my younger brother when I was 26, car accident. And I remember how much it meant when people honored his memory, when they acknowledged that his life mattered. James pauses, and I hear genuine emotion in his voice. Madison doesn't understand grief because she's never experienced real loss. But watching you at the memorial service, seeing how many people loved Tyler, it made me realize something. What's that? You weren't being vindictive. You were being a mother protecting her child's legacy. We talk for 20 more minutes, and I learn that James has been questioning his decision to marry Madison since the engagement party. The party they threw on the day of Tyler's funeral. She didn't tell me the funeral was that day until afterward, he admits. Said you'd been unclear about the timing. I sent 3 separate messages with the details. I know, I found them on her phone. What do you think will happen next? Drop a comment below with your predictions and hit that like button if you've ever had to choose between keeping peace and standing up for what's right. The Channel 7 interview airs on Wednesday evening. I watch it from my living room, holding Tyler's favorite stuffed elephant, nervous about how the story came across. The reporter, Sarah Chen, did a beautiful job. The segment opens with video from Tyler's memorial service, showing the packed room and emotional testimonials. Then it cuts to my interview, where I talk about Tyler's battle with leukemia and his father's wish to help other families facing similar challenges. Tyler was the kind of kid who worried about other people even when he was the one who needed help, I tell Sarah in the interview. During his last hospital stay, he used his allowance money to buy candy for the other kids in the pediatric ward. The story includes information about the scholarship application process and ends with contact details for donations. Within an hour of the broadcast, the Scholarship Fund website crashes from too much traffic. My phone starts ringing immediately. The first call is from Marcus's mother. Ruby, honey, we just watched the interview. You were perfect. Tyler would be so proud. The second call surprises me. It's from my high school friend Jessica, who moved to Denver years ago. Ruby, I saw the news story online. I had no idea about Tyler. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Jess. It's been a difficult time. Listen, I work for a children's hospital foundation here in Colorado. We'd love to partner with Tyler's Scholarship Fund, maybe expand it regionally. By Thursday morning, I've received calls from foundations in 3 different states, all interested in replicating Tyler's scholarship model for their communities. But not all the calls are positive. Thursday afternoon, Dad shows up at the hospital during my shift. Nancy intercepts him at the nurse's station, but I can hear his raised voice from Tyler's old room where I'm updating medical charts. My daughter has lost her mind with grief, he's telling Nancy. This public spectacle needs to stop. I walk out to face him, very aware that my coworkers are watching this family drama unfold in their workplace. Dad, you need to leave. Ruby, this has gone far enough. The TV interview, the newspaper articles, it's embarrassing the entire family. I'm sorry you're embarrassed by your grandson's memorial scholarship. His face reddens. Don't twist my words. You know that's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Dad glances around at the nurses and staff members who've stopped their work to listen. Can we discuss this privately? Tyler received all his care in this hospital. These people knew him, loved him, supported our family when you wouldn't. They have every right to hear this conversation. Nancy steps forward. Mr. Patterson, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice or leave the premises. This is family business. Ruby is family to us, Nancy replies firmly. Tyler was too. Dad's jaw tightens. Fine. Ruby, since you want an audience, here's what's going to happen. You're going to stop this media circus, donate the remaining scholarship money to a legitimate charity, and apologize to your sister for ruining her wedding. The silence in the hallway is complete. Even the usual hospital sounds seem muted. Or what? I ask quietly. Or you're no longer part of this family. Nancy actually gasps. Several of my coworkers exchange shocked glances. Dad, I stopped being part of this family the day Tyler was diagnosed and you decided his illness was inconvenient for your lives. That's not true, isn't it? When Tyler was in isolation for 3 weeks after his bone marrow transplant failed, how many times did you visit? Dad's face pales. That's different. The doctor said he couldn't have many visitors. The doctor said he couldn't have many visitors at once. They encouraged family members to take shifts so he wouldn't be alone. I pull out my phone and scroll to the photos I took during those weeks. Tyler connected to dozens of machines, pale and weak, but still trying to smile for the camera. I was here every single day for 3 weeks. I slept in that chair. I point to Tyler's former room, every single night. And you want to know how many times any of you visited? Dad doesn't answer. 0. 0 times in 3 weeks. But you had time to plan Madison's engagement party during that same period. The truth hangs in the air like an accusation. Around us, my coworkers are trying to look busy while obviously listening to every word. So when you say I'm no longer part of this family, I continue, you're about 18 months too late with that announcement. Dad turns and walks away without another word. Nancy squeezes my shoulder. Honey, you okay? Actually, I realize as I say it, I think I am. For the first time since Tyler died, I feel completely free. Friday morning brings a surprise visitor to my house. Madison's mother-in-law, Eleanor, stands on my porch holding a casserole dish and wearing an expression I can't quite read. Mrs. Patterson? I'm Eleanor Williams, James's mother. Please, call me Ruby. She's younger than I expected, probably early 50s, with kind eyes and silver-streaked brown hair. Everything about her seems genuine, which is refreshing after weeks of family manipulation. I brought you lunch, she says, holding up the casserole, and an apology. I invite her in, curious about what she could possibly need to apologize for. I owe you an explanation about the wedding, Eleanor begins as we sit in my kitchen. James told me what really happened. About Tyler's funeral, about your family's behavior, about the scholarship fund. You don't owe me anything, Mrs. Williams. Eleanor, please, and yes, I do, because I raised my son to have better judgment than he showed last weekend. She pauses, choosing her words carefully. James has been having doubts about Madison since their engagement. Not about loving her, but about whether they're compatible long-term. This conversation feels dangerously close to gossip, but I find myself curious despite my better judgment. When he learned your family missed Tyler's funeral for their engagement party, he was horrified. When Madison admitted she'd lied about the timing of the funeral, he was angry. But when she suggested using Tyler's trust fund for their wedding, he almost called off the engagement entirely. Why didn't he? Eleanor sighs. Because Madison convinced him you were mentally unstable from grief and making vindictive decisions. She painted herself as the victim of your jealousy. And he believed that? Until your television interview. James watched that broadcast and saw a mother honoring her child's memory in the most beautiful way possible. He realized Madison had been lying about everything. I processed this information, unsure how to respond. James seemed like a decent person during our phone call, but Madison's marriage problems aren't my responsibility. Mrs. Williams, Eleanor, why are you telling me this? Because James is considering an annulment. They've been married 4 days, and he's already questioning everything about their relationship. She pulls out her phone and shows me a screenshot of text messages between James and Madison. James, I can't stop thinking about what Ruby said, about love being a choice to show up when it's hard. Madison, are you seriously taking relationship advice from my psychotic sister? James, I'm questioning whether someone who could abandon a dying child is someone I want to build a life with. Madison, Tyler wasn't my child. I didn't owe him anything. Eleanor puts her phone away. That last message was sent yesterday morning. James came home, packed a bag, and moved back in with me. I'm sorry to hear they're having problems. Are you? Really? The question hangs between us. Am I sorry Madison's marriage is falling apart after 4 days? If I'm being honest, not particularly. I'm sorry for James, I clarify. He seems like a good person who got caught up in Madison's manipulation. Eleanor nods. He is a good person, which is why I wanted to meet you and understand what really happened. We talk for 2 more hours. Eleanor shares stories about James's younger brother who died in the car accident, and I tell her about Tyler's final weeks. By the time she leaves, I understand why James was drawn to Madison initially, and why he's now reconsidering everything. That evening, James calls me directly. Ruby, I owe you a huge apology. You don't owe me anything, James. I do. I should have questioned Madison's version of events earlier. I should have attended Tyler's funeral regardless of the engagement party. I should have refused to even consider taking money from a child's trust fund. You're questioning it now. That's what matters. I'm doing more than questioning it. I've filed for annulment. The marriage is over. I'm genuinely surprised by how quickly he's acted. Are you sure that's what you want? Ruby, I watched my family fall apart after my brother died. I saw how grief can either bring people together or reveal who they really are underneath. Madison's reaction to Tyler's death showed me exactly who she is. And who is that? Someone who sees other people's pain as an inconvenience to her happiness. After we hang up, I sit in Tyler's room, looking at the photos on his dresser, pictures of him with Marcus, with his school friends, with me during his healthier days. But there's something missing from these photos. Madison appears in exactly 3 pictures over 9 years of Tyler's life. Christmas photos where she's clearly present only because Mom insisted on family portraits. Maybe James is right. Maybe Madison's behavior during Tyler's illness wasn't an anomaly. Maybe it was just Madison being exactly who she's always been. The annulment papers are served to Madison on Tuesday morning. I know because she shows up at my house 20 minutes later, still in her pajamas, holding the legal documents and screaming. "Are you happy now?" she shouts from my driveway. "You've destroyed my marriage." Neighbors are starting to come outside, drawn by the commotion. Mrs. Chen from next door actually takes out her phone, probably recording the whole scene. "Madison, you need to calm down." "Calm down? My husband left me because of you, because of your lies about Tyler." "What lies?" She waves the legal papers in the air. "James thinks I'm a terrible person because I didn't spend every waking moment at Tyler's bedside. Not everyone can drop their entire life for a sick kid." The casual cruelty of calling Tyler a sick kid like he was just some random child instead of her nephew hits me like a physical blow. "Madison, Tyler was family. Tyler was your responsibility, not mine." Mrs. Chen's phone is definitely recording now. This is going to be all over social media within hours. "You're right," I say quietly. "Tyler was my responsibility, which is why I protected his trust fund from people who wanted to use his death for their own benefit. That money belonged to the family. That money belonged to Tyler. Now it helps other children like him." Madison breaks down crying, but these aren't the calculated tears she's used for manipulation over the years. These are raw, desperate sobs from someone whose perfect life has completely unraveled. "I lost everything," she whispers. "My marriage, my reputation, my future, all because you couldn't let go of some stupid grudge. You lost everything because of your own choices, Madison, because when your nephew was dying, you chose your comfort over his needs. Because when your husband questioned those choices, you chose manipulation over honesty. What was I supposed to do? Watch him waste away? Hold his hand while he died?" "Yes," I say simply. "That's exactly what you were supposed to do. Because that's what family does." Madison stares at me for a long moment, and I see something shift in her expression. For the first time in our lives, she's starting to understand the consequences of her selfishness. "I can't fix this, can I?" she asks quietly. "Tyler's gone, Madison. There's no fixing that, but you could learn from it." "How?" "By becoming the kind of person who shows up when it matters. By thinking about someone besides yourself occasionally." Madison wipes her eyes, smearing mascara across her cheeks. "James won't even talk to me. He changed his phone number." "Then focus on becoming someone worth talking to." She leaves without another word, and I watch her drive away in the BMW our parents bought her. The same car she was showing off while Tyler lay in his hospital bed, fighting for his life. That afternoon, I receive a call from Mitchell Reynolds. "Ruby, I have some interesting news about Tyler's scholarship fund." "What kind of news?" "The Children's Hospital Foundation wants to make it a permanent endowment. They're offering to match donations dollar for dollar, which would effectively double the fund's impact." I sit down hard in Tyler's desk chair. "How much money are we talking about?" "With the donations that have come in since the TV interview, the fund currently has over $700,000. If the hospital matches that, we're looking at nearly $1.5 million for Tyler's scholarship program." $1.5 million. More than Tyler's original trust fund. More than Madison's wedding would have cost. Money that will help hundreds of children over the years. "There's something else," Mitchell continues. "The hospital wants to name the new pediatric wing after Tyler. The Tyler Patterson Memorial Children's Wing." I can't speak for several minutes. When I finally find my voice, it comes out as a whisper. Tyler would have loved that. He always said he wanted to help other kids when he grew up. He is helping other kids, Ruby. More than he ever could have imagined. That evening, I visit Tyler's grave again. The temporary flowers from the memorial service have been replaced by a steady stream of fresh bouquets left by community members I've never met. "Tyler, you're famous," I tell him, sitting cross-legged beside his headstone. "Your scholarship fund is going to help kids all over the region, and they're naming a hospital wing after you." The wind rustles through the oak tree overhead, and I imagine Tyler's voice saying, "That's pretty cool, Mom." "It is pretty cool, baby. You're going to live forever now, in all the lives you'll help save." As I drive home, my phone buzzes with a text from Eleanor Williams. "James wanted me to thank you. He says you helped him understand what real love looks like. He's going to volunteer with Tyler's scholarship fund. Maybe Madison was right about one thing. I did destroy her marriage, but sometimes destruction is necessary to clear the ground for something better to grow. The hospital wing dedication ceremony is scheduled for a month after Tyler's death, on what would have been his 10th birthday. The timing wasn't planned, but it feels perfect somehow. I'm getting ready for the ceremony when my doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see Mom standing on my porch, looking older than I remember. She's holding a small wrapped box. I consider not answering, but curiosity wins. "Ruby, could we talk?" Her voice is different, smaller, less demanding than the tone she's used with me for 34 years. "If you're here to convince me to reconcile with Madison, I'm here to apologize." That stops me cold. Patricia Patterson doesn't apologize. She explains, justifies, and redirects blame, but she doesn't admit fault. I let her in, and she sits on the edge of my couch like she's afraid she might be asked to leave at any moment. "I brought Tyler's birthday present," she says, holding up the wrapped box. "I bought it 2 months ago, before—" She can't finish the sentence. "Before Tyler died. Before the funeral we missed. Before everything fell apart. You can open it if you want." Inside the box is a small telescope, the kind designed for kids who love astronomy. Tyler had been fascinated by space in his final months, spending hours reading about planets and stars when the treatments made him too weak for more active hobbies. "He would have loved this," I say, and mean it. Mom's eyes fill with tears. "I know I failed him, Ruby. I know I failed you." "Why? Why did you choose Madison's engagement party over Tyler's funeral?" "Because Madison's life was moving forward, and Tyler's was ending. Because celebrating felt easier than grieving. Because I'm a coward who couldn't face watching you bury your child." The honesty in her voice is startling. This isn't the polished, politically correct Patricia Patterson I've known all my life. "And the scholarship money? Asking me to fund Madison's wedding?" Mom closes her eyes. "Because we're broke, Ruby. The business is failing, the house is mortgaged to the limit, and Madison's wedding was the only thing keeping your father from completely falling apart." "What do you mean?" "Your father made some very bad investments 3 years ago. We've been living on credit and borrowed money ever since. Madison's wedding was supposed to be our last hurrah before we lose everything." I process this information, understanding finally why they were so desperate for Tyler's trust fund money. "Why didn't you just tell me you needed help?" "Because admitting we needed help from you would mean admitting we'd failed as parents. As providers. As the successful, stable family we've pretended to be." Mom looks around my modest living room, taking in the photos of Tyler, the thank you cards from scholarship recipients pinned to a bulletin board, the simple but comfortable life I've built. "You don't need us," she says quietly. "You never really did. You raised yourself, earned your own money, built your own support system. Madison never learned to do any of that because we never made her." "Mom, I'm not asking for forgiveness, Ruby. I know what we did was unforgivable. I just wanted you to know that your father and I understand now. Tyler's scholarship fund, the memorial service, the way you've honored his memory, you did everything right." She stands to leave, then turns back. "Madison is moving back home with us. The annulment was finalized yesterday. She's going to therapy, trying to understand why she makes the choices she does." "That's good." "James called your father yesterday. He wanted to personally apologize for our family's behavior during Tyler's illness. He also wanted to donate to Tyler's scholarship fund." I walk Mom to the door, still holding Tyler's telescope. "Will I see you at the dedication ceremony?" I ask. "Would you want us there?" For the first time in months, I consider what Tyler would want. Not what I want or what would feel satisfying, but what my son would hope for. Tyler loved you, despite everything. He always asked about his grandparents and Aunt Madison. "If you come, you're coming to honor him, not to support me." Mom nods. "We'll be there." 2 hours later, I stand in front of the new Tyler Patterson Memorial Children's Wing, looking up at the bronze plaque with my son's name engraved in beautiful script. The dedication ceremony drew over 300 people. Hospital staff, scholarship recipients, community members who've never met Tyler but were moved by his story. Marcus's parents who drove 8 hours to be here. And in the back row, almost hidden behind the crowd, my parents and Madison. They don't approach me or try to make the day about their guilt or my forgiveness. They just sit quietly, listening as speaker after speaker talks about Tyler's legacy. When it's my turn to speak, I look out at the crowd and find the courage to say what Tyler would want me to say. Tyler believed that everyone deserves kindness, even when they make mistakes. He believed in second chances and fresh starts. He believed that love is stronger than anger and hope is more powerful than hurt. I pause, looking directly at my family for the first time. Tyler's legacy isn't just this hospital wing or the scholarship fund. It's the reminder that we can choose to be better than our worst moments. We can choose to show up, to care, to put love into action even when it's difficult. After the ceremony, Madison approaches me hesitantly. Ruby, could I see Tyler's room? The one you've kept exactly like it was? I study her face, looking for manipulation or self-serving motives. Instead, I see genuine grief for the first time since Tyler died. Yes, I say. I think Tyler would like that. 6 months after Tyler's death, I wake up in my own bed instead of the hospital chair I'd grown accustomed to, and for a moment, I forget why the house feels so quiet. Then I remember, and the grief hits fresh as always. But it's different now. Softer around the edges. Less like drowning, more like carrying something precious, but heavy. Today is the 6-month anniversary of Tyler's funeral. It's also the day the scholarship fund officially becomes a permanent endowment, ensuring Tyler's legacy will help children for generations. I'm getting ready for the celebration dinner when my phone rings. Janet Morrison from the newspaper. Ruby, I wanted you to be the first to know. Tyler's story won the state award for community impact journalism. But more importantly, I just got off the phone with a producer from CNN. They want to feature Tyler's scholarship fund in a national segment about childhood cancer advocacy. I sit down hard on Tyler's bed, overwhelmed by how far his story has traveled. National television? Ruby, Tyler's fund has inspired similar programs in 12 different states. Children's hospitals across the country are calling it the Tyler model for memorial scholarship programs. After we hang up, I walk through the house Tyler and I shared, noting all the changes. The living room wall now displays framed thank you letters from scholarship recipients. The kitchen table where Tyler did homework is covered with applications from families seeking assistance. But Tyler's room remains exactly as he left it. Pokemon cards scattered on his desk, superhero posters covering the walls, the telescope from my mother sitting on his nightstand where he can see the stars. The doorbell rings and I open it to find James standing on my porch holding a manila envelope. Hi, Ruby. I hope you don't mind me stopping by. Of course not. Come in. James looks healthier than he did during Madison's meltdown 6 months ago. Less stressed, more genuine. I wanted to show you something before tonight's dinner, he says, opening the envelope. The first Tyler Patterson Memorial Scholarship recipient? He hands me a photo of a 7-year-old girl with big brown eyes and a bright smile, wearing a hospital gown, but grinning like she's having the best day of her life. This is Emma. She was diagnosed with leukemia 3 months ago. Her parents couldn't afford the experimental treatment she needed, but Tyler's scholarship covered the full cost. I study Emma's face, seeing Tyler's curiosity and determination reflected in her expression. She's in remission now, James continues. The doctors say she has an excellent prognosis. Tyler would love knowing he helped save her life. There's something else. Emma's parents want to meet you. They're driving in from Ohio for tonight's dinner. That evening, the hospital conference room is packed with people whose lives have been touched by Tyler's legacy. Emma and her parents sit at the table next to me, and I spend the entire meal listening to their story. When Emma was diagnosed, we thought it was the end of the world, her father tells me. The treatment costs, the time away from work, the uncertainty, it was overwhelming. Emma's mother nods. Then we learned about Tyler's scholarship, and suddenly we had hope again. Not just financial help, but the knowledge that other families had walked this path and survived. Emma herself is fascinated by everything around her, asking questions about the hospital equipment and whether Tyler liked Pokemon as much as she does. Tyler loved Pokemon, I tell her. His favorite was Charizard. Mine too, Emma grins. Maybe we can trade cards sometime. I think Tyler would like that very much. After dinner, as people begin to leave, I notice a familiar figure lingering by the windows. Madison, dressed simply in jeans and a sweater, looking nervous. Ruby, could we talk? We step out into the hospital hallway where Tyler spent so many of his final months. How are you doing? I ask, and realize I genuinely want to know. Better. Therapy is helping. I'm starting to understand why I always made everything about me. Madison looks different, less polished, more real. Her hair is shorter, her makeup minimal, her expression more genuine than I've seen in years. I wanted to tell you something, she continues. I've been volunteering with the Scholarship Fund, helping families navigate the application process, providing emotional support during treatment. Madison, that's wonderful. It's not about earning forgiveness, she says quickly. I know I can't undo the past, but Tyler's story taught me something about what really matters. What's that? That love isn't a performance. It's a choice you make every day, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching. We stand together in the hallway where Tyler fought his final battle. Two sisters who lost each other long before we lost him, slowly finding our way back to something that might eventually become family again. Madison, I say quietly, Tyler asked about you every time he was here. Even at the end, when he was too weak to speak clearly, He would whisper your name. Madison's eyes fill with tears. What did you tell him? That you loved him, but showing love was hard for you sometimes. That you were learning. Was I? Learning? I study my sister's face, looking for the woman she's becoming, instead of the girl she's always been. I think you're learning now. As I drive home that night, I pass the cemetery where Tyler rests under the oak tree he loved to climb. The Tyler Patterson Memorial Children's Wing gleams in the distance, lit up like a beacon of hope for families facing their darkest hours. Tyler's trust fund has grown into something neither Marcus nor I could have imagined. Not just a scholarship program, but a movement that's changing how communities support families dealing with childhood illness. 6 months ago, I buried my son alone while my family celebrated someone else's happiness. Tonight, I honored his memory surrounded by hundreds of people whose lives are better, because Tyler existed. My family didn't show up when it mattered most. But Tyler's real family, the nurses who cared for him, the teachers who inspired him, the community that embraced his legacy, they've been here all along. I park in my driveway and look up at the stars Tyler loved so much. Somewhere up there, my 9-year-old son is probably amazed that his story traveled so far, helped so many people, turned his mother's broken heart into something powerful enough to change the world. We did it, baby, I whispered to the stars. We turned your love into something that will last forever. And for the first time since Tyler died, I smile without crying. If this story resonated with you, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories about turning pain into purpose, loss into legacy, and learning that sometimes the greatest victory isn't getting revenge on those who hurt you, it's building something beautiful from the pieces they left behind.